October 2016, kidney function 66. That's a warning sign for stage 2 chronic kidney disease. My GP flagged it for monitoring. I was doing exactly what I was told. My kidneys were still getting worse. I'm Neil. I've been tracking my NHS blood results since 2012, got just over 13 years of data. I was on 6 medications at the same time, and that reading came back. In the next 10 minutes, what eGFR 66 actually means, and why 66 is the number that changes your GP's behaviour, the conventional CKD advice I was given, and why I stopped following it. What I did instead, and March 2024, over 90. Excellent function and sustained. The standard CKD advice is low protein, small frequent meals and medication management. I did the opposite of all three. So what does conventional medicine actually say about kidney function? And I want to be fair here, because the guidance exists for good reason. The NHS position on declining eGFR is well established. Keep protein moderate. Avoid dehydration. Eat little and often to manage the filtration load. Monitor regularly. If you're on medication that could stress the kidneys, statin, NSAIDs, certain blood pressure drugs, manage doses carefully. That's the protocol, evidence-backed. Sensible medicine. The logic behind low protein is straightforward. Your kidneys filter the waste products of protein metabolism. If the filters are struggling, you reduce the load. It makes sense. I understood that and I accepted it. And the frequent small meals, same idea. Steady, manageable input. Don't overwhelm a system that's already under pressure. I was on 6 medications in October 2016 when the eGFR 66 came back. Statins, estimide, alpurinol for gout, asthma inhalers, antihistamines. The conventional approach was manage the condition, monitor the kidney numbers, adjust as needed. That's what we did. The thing is, I believed it completely. I wasn't questioning it. I was doing exactly what I was told. And my kidneys were still flagging stage 2. Let me walk you through the numbers, because this took years, not months. April 2012, first recorded eGFR 72. That's normal range, kidneys working well. I was 40 something, already on medications for cholesterol and gout, but kidney function was okay. Over the next 4 years, that number drifted, not dramatically, but consistently downwards. August 24, 72, holding. September 2015, 69, moving in the wrong direction. October 2016, 66. Stage 2 chronic kidney disease, flagged for monitoring. October 24, 2016, my GP at the time flagged it. The CKD monitoring protocol kicked in. Now I need to be honest with you here, because there's a complicating data point I'm not going to hide. December 2016, 2 months later, the same GP ran another kidney test. Different formula, CKD-EPI rather than MDSRD. The result was 73, back in the normal range on paper. 2 readings, 2 months apart, 2 different formulas, 66 versus 73. I'm not going to tell you the 66 was a definitive stage 2 diagnosis and leave out the 73. That wouldn't be honest. What I can tell you is my GP flagged it. The monitoring started, and the trend from 2012 to 2016 was clearly downward. 72, 69, 66 over 4 years whilst on medication. Then something happened in 2020. July, eGFR 85. August, eGFR 82. Better, noticeably better. And I'm going to be straight with you. I don't exactly know why. I was still on all 6 medications. But 2020 was COVID. I was home. I was cooking from scratch. Whole foods, proper meals, no commuting, no stress eating, no processed convenience foods. Maybe the meds finally worked after 8-10 years. Maybe the whole food cooking made the difference. Probably a bit of both. I genuinely can't tell you with certainty. What I can tell you is December 2023, eGFR was 77, still on the medications for 2 more months. Then in March 2024, the first test after stopping everything, over 90. October 31st, 2023, I moved GP surgeries when I moved from the Isle of Wight back up to Yorkshire. All prescriptions ended that day, administratively. I had some remaining medication stock and I used it, which took me through to the middle of February 2024. At that point, the medication simply ran out. I was in a new area, had a new GP. I made the decision not to request new prescriptions. I felt well, better than I had done in years. I wanted to see what the data showed without the medication in the picture. I want to be clear. I did not have a formal GP consultation about stopping. That's the honest version. What I did do is register with my new GP and book blood tests fairly promptly to see where things actually stood. Now, starting date, Boxing Day 2023, I began fasting properly. 10 days water only fast. That was my reset. Then that evolved into a 17/7 fasting on average. One main eating window, real food, nothing processed. Eggs, fish, meat, vegetables, lentils, oat, fermented foods. Not calorie counting and not protein tracked in those early months. Just whole food, eaten in a window of 7 hours. Movement was daily, but not intense. 30, 60-minute walks, leisurely ones, light squats at home, a few sit-ups, nothing a gym would be impressed by. That's it. No kidney specialist, no low protein protocol, no frequent small meals. Quite the opposite. March the 7th, 2024, first blood test, fasting sample, eGFR, over 90. Excellent function. I want that to let that sit for a moment. October 2016, 66. Stage 2 CKD flag. March 2024, over 90. Off the watch list. And it didn't stop there. January 2025, over 90. It was sustained. April 2025, eGFR 88, a small dip, but still well within excellent range. November 2025, back over 90, sustained again. That's 20 plus months of excellent kidney function after years of monitoring, after a decade of numbers drifting the wrong way. Now, and this matters, creatinine improved too. Creatinine is the waste product your kidneys filter. Higher creatinine, harder the working. In 2016, mine was 115, outside the normal range. March 2024, 78, back to optimal. A 38% improvement in the first month after stopping medication. My GP reviews the results. The reaction was, and I'm paraphrasing, something along the lines of, what I'd been doing was clearly working. Keep going. Not a dramatic moment, understated. But for me, it meant a lot because it validated that the numbers weren't a fluke. They held up test after test. So what does this mean? 4 things. First, what my data suggests in my case, one person, N equals 1. It's not a clinical trial. Kidney function improved significantly after stopping 6 medications and switching to a whole food while eating within a fasting window. Whether the improvement came from removing the medications, which was providing a burden on the kidneys, reducing systematic inflation through whole food and fasting, or simply the body having time to recover, I can't say definitively. Probably some of all 3. Professor Janet Lord at the University of Birmingham has documented that fasting reduces chronic low-level inflammation. That inflammation, what she calls inflammaging, is one of the things that stresses organs over time. Less inflammation, less burden on the filters. That's a plausible mechanism, but it's a hypothesis about my case, not a prescription for yours. Second, when conventional advice still applies, the low protein kidney protocol exists because for people with serious established CKD, particularly in late stages, reducing protein load genuinely helps slow progression. If your eGFR is below 45, if your GP has referred you to a nephrologist, if you have diabetic kidney disease, please follow their guidance. This is not an argument to ignore deteriorating kidney function. It's a before and after story from one person who changed multiple variables at once. Your GP is your first conversation, always. Third, the prevention angle. Most people watching this won't have had a stage 2 CKD flag, but quite a few will have had a GP mention that eGFR is something to keep an eye on. Numbers in the high 60s or 70s drifting slowly. That's the prevention stage version of this story. The question worth raising with your GP before a monitoring protocol kicks in. What lifestyle factors might be affecting this? What can we track? That conversion is easier to have at eGFR 72 than at 66. And fourth, the safety sign-off. If you're on medication and you're curious about your kidney numbers, the right move is to look at your recent blood tests. Most of them will have an eGFR figure on them, and have a conversation with your GP about the trend, not the single number. The trend over years. That's what matters. And if you're thinking about changing your diet, your fasting pattern, or your medication, do it with your GP alongside you, not instead of them, with them. If you want to understand your own blood test results, what eGFR actually means, what the numbers to watch are, and how to have a useful conversation with your GP about metabolic markers, my 7-day fasting blueprint walks through the key biomarkers I track and why. It's free and the link is in the description. One more time, everything in this video is educational content based on my personal NHS data. It's not medical advice. Never stop or change medication without your GP supervision. All my medication changes were my own decision. And if I was doing this again, I'd probably do it with the GP oversight from day one. Speak to your GP before changing your fasting pattern, diet or medication. Your kidney function should be monitored. Mine is, yours should be too.